Hey YouTubers, I'm Jacob. This is a how-to video for installing the Vintage Air AC kit in a 1979 Ford Bronco. This is part of a bigger series. I've broken this down into several steps showing you how to install the full Vintage Air AC kit. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to follow along.
I've included the product links to the tools and products I've used today in the description below, so make sure to click on those and check them out. All right, let's get into it.
All right, so it's now time to do our wiring. Go ahead and break your harness apart, and first thing you're gonna do is disconnect the circuit breaker here, and you'll need a 10mm to do that. I'm gonna leave the power lead on it for mounting up. It's gonna mount on the engine bay side, and the rest of this is gonna be fed from the interior of Bronco. Take these off. So that's now ready to mount in the engine bay. This is for the heater control valve. We're going to feed this from the firewall side along with these 3 wires here. And we can go ahead and just set this in the engine bay so we can kind of get it staged up. Also, you'll want to open this up to a 1/4 inch hole before we mount it up. It's going to mount on the kick panel portion, the one screw that we did leave out.
Only tape up the 2 white wires. Next, push them through the small grommet hole by the heater heart lines from the cab side towards the engine bay. Be aware of the existing electrical routing and cleanly route wiring towards the battery. Cut down and add the positive and negative connections to the battery terminals. Mount the relay high on the kick panel. Route the violet and tan wire to the driver's side. The violet wire needs to be tapped to an ignition source, and the tan wire needs to be tapped to the dash lights so that the lights can come on the control panel. Instead of tapping at the fuse panel, I chose to tap at the instrument cluster wiring.
All right, it's finally time to run the heater hose. First thing we're gonna do is connect up our heater control valve. So you need to cut about 5 inches off of 5/8 inch heater hose. And I went ahead and got all new hose for this. Cut about 5 inches off. We'll connect it to the heater hose. We wanna make sure your direction's right when you connect it. Get it mounted up coming out of the firewall. And then we'll run the rest of our hose. And currently I do have coolant in the system here. So I'm gonna try to run my hose and get it as close as I can, and then just quickly swap it out as fast as I possibly can. I know I'm gonna lose some coolant, so I went ahead and threw some catch pans down just in case. After this, you will need to add a little bit extra coolant for the system because there will be more capacity with the heater going into the cabin.
Now that the electrical portion has been finished up on our vintage air install, we're going to be installing the ductwork. The 2-inch lines, this is for the defrost portion, and the 2.5 inch is for the dash portion. Vintage air provides a really good diagram on the routing that you need to do for the ducts on this, and where they need to come off from and where they go to. So really important to follow that correctly. To cut this, all you need is a good razor blade. I'm gonna use a trim tool in case I need that to help pop it on over the grill covers. So let's get into it. Once that's wrapped up, then I'll be installing the new control panel. As you can see, it's quite a bit better than the old one. Also, you need to install the window switch if you've got a Bronco, or your auxiliary fuel tank switch. It comes with both labels so that you can label them correctly. So we'll install that before the control panel goes in. Make sure you get your switch installed correctly. Once we wrap that up, then the glove box is ready to be installed, and then finally put in the bezel and dash back together.
So we'll install the first pop rivet for this bracket to keep it in place. This is for the rear window for a 79 Bronco. The rivet goes in right there like that. I'll use rivet gun to secure it. Okay, now this piece drops in. The switch drops in like this. Goes below it. They don't show a good photo of it installed, but it's hard to say. Let's get this on. Actually, might be about the right distance. It's not quite centered. I do the zip ties.
Mount the control panel to the dash bracket that holds the control panel and stereo. My bracket was modified by a previous owner to hold a modern stereo, so I'll have to do some adjusting to make it sit right.
All right, let's go ahead and install this in the Bronco, and make sure to undo your cord. Go ahead and feed that in first. We'll go ahead and plug it into the evaporator at the ECU. All right, so I'm gonna plug in my window switch first. Plug it in right over here. Control panel.
I previously replaced my glove box liner and it happened to be the same one provided by Vintage Air. To see an install video for fitting the glove box, I've included a link in the description below. Make sure to connect the far left driver's side duct at the bezel before securing it in place.
All right, now let's get the battery back in.
After we finish that up, then you should be able to start your Bronco up or your vehicle up, run the heat, make sure you circulate the heat for a little bit. That way you can burp the system and be able to top it off with coolant once it's cooled down. The final steps after that would be to have the AC system serviced, and it's recommended to have it done by a professional. You want the system to be purged properly so that you don't have any moisture in there to prevent any kind of leaks, and then have the correct refrigerant added. Now, I'm gonna leave that to the professionals to do. It's a little over my head. I wanna make sure it's done right. I've included the product links to the tools and products I've used today in the description below, so make sure to click on those and check them out.